Hello students, I welcome you all for my today's class on the topic contraception. So coming to the introduction, as you know, the rapid population growth is a critical issue worldwide. So family planning matters, saves a woman's life, preventing unintended pregnancies. So slower growth population conserves resources, improves health and living standards. So the benefits of fertility control is that we can improve the quality of life, we can give better health, less physical and emotional stress of life, better education, job and economical opportunities. So benefits are enjoyed by the couple, the children and the entire family members and the community as well as the country. That's why the fertility control plays a very important role. In these two aspects comes, one is the contraception and another is the fertility control. Contraception is the fertility inhibition and fertility stimulation when it is needed. So coming to the definition, how you will define a contraception? How you will define contraception? So the term contraception includes all the measures, temporary or permanent, designed to prevent pregnancy due to the coital act. So the term contraception, see, conception means the pregnancy. Contraception means avoiding the pregnancy. So it includes all the measures, either temporary or permanent, which are designed to prevent pregnancy due to the coital act is to be termed as contraception. So coming to the criteria of ideal contraceptive method, how the ideal contraceptive should be. So ideal contraceptive should fulfill certain criteria, then only we can call such contraceptive method as ideal. Like it should be widely acceptable, inexpensive, it should not be very expensive, simple to use, safe, highly effective, requiring minimal motivation, maintenance and supervision, and no one single universally acceptable method has been discovered yet. So there are different methods of contraception, but no one is we cannot call a single method as an ideal contraceptive. So patient we have to decide according to the patient which method is suitable for that patient. So it's individual decision, we cannot call a single method as an ideal contraceptive method because no one is fulfilling all the criteria. Okay, so coming to the methods of contraception, there are different methods of contraception. Mainly there are two methods, one is a temporary one and another is a permanent one. Temporary one includes the barrier methods, natural contraception, IUCDs, that is intrauterine contraceptive devices, steroidal contraceptives, which includes the medicines like oral contraceptive pills, etc., in injectable forms, depots, etc. Then coming to the permanent methods, permanent methods are the surgical methods in male and as well as in the female. That the permanent method in female, it includes the tubal occlusion, or you can say tubectomy, but now it's better to call it as a tubal occlusion because we are not cutting the tubes but we are occluding the tubes so that the passage of ovum can be hindered. And in male it is a vasectomy, only vasectomy, cutting the vasa deferens, etc. So these are considered as a permanent method of contraception. So contraception methods can be divided into two types, temporary methods and the permanent methods. So let's see one by one each method. So coming to first the temporary methods of contraception. Temporary methods. So what is the use of temporary method? So temporary methods are commonly used to postpone or to space the birth. So these are used to postpone or to space the birth, like space in between first and second child or in between second and third child, like that. If they want to space in between the births, then they can use temporary methods. Or else if the couple wants to postpone the pregnancy, then also they can use the contraceptive methods. However, the methods are also frequently being used by the couples even though they have got strong desire for no more children. But these are not as a permanent, considered as a permanent method. But in few couples, because if they are they want to postpone the surgery, then also they are using the temporary methods. So coming to the temporary methods one by one. First is the barrier methods. Barrier, so as the name itself suggests, they are creating a barrier in between so that the pregnancy can be prevented. So these methods prevent sperm deposition in the vagina or prevent sperm penetration through the cervical canal. Why they are called considered as barrier methods? Because they prevent that sperm deposition in the vagina, or sometimes they prevent the sperm penetration into the cervical canal. So they are preventing the sperm deposition and penetration into the cervix and vagina, you can say. So the objective is to achieve by the mechanical devices. So what are the methods in use here? Are the mechanical devices or by the chemical means which produce sperm immobilization, or by combined means, either with the help of devices or with the help of chemicals or with the help of both. We are creating a barrier in between the sperm and the vagina and the cervix. So these are called as the barrier method. So coming to the barrier methods, once again, they are classified into three types: mechanical methods, chemical methods, and the combination methods. Mechanical methods, in male it includes condoms, and in female it includes condoms, diaphragm, cervical cap, etc. And the chemical methods, these are the chemicals which are used, spermicidals, etc. So these are also considered as a vaginal contraceptives. They includes creams like Delphan, naloxone 9, jellies, Coromax, Volpar paste, foam tablets, aerosol foams, etc., sponge today, etc. So these are the chemical contraceptives. These are the chemicals which prevents the sperm penetration or which makes the sperms immobilized. Combination is the combined use of mechanical as well as the chemical methods. So coming to each method one by one. First, the very commonest use method is the condom. It's a male condom, polyurethane or latex. Polyurethane condoms are thinner and suitable to those who are sensitive to the latex rubber, and it is most widely practiced method used by the male. So it is a simple method and it is widely practiced method by the males. In India, one particular brand latex is widely marketed as by the name Nirod. So Nirod condoms are very commonly used in India. The efficacy of condoms can be augmented by improving the quality of the products and by adding the spermicidal agents during its use. So if you want to increase the efficacy of condoms, you can simultaneously add the spermicidal agents. And one more benefit of using these condoms are they gives the protection against the STD, sexually transmitted diseases, is an additional advantage of using condoms. Occasionally, sometimes the partner may be allergic to the latex, so this is the allergic reactions may occur sometimes. The method is suitable for couples who want to space their families and who have contraindication to the use of oral contraceptives or the IUDs. They are also suitable to those who have infrequent sexual intercourse. So who are the suitable couples for using condoms? So they who want to space their families, who have contraindication for other methods like OC pills and IUCDs, and who do infrequent sexual intercourse. They are the suitable couples for the use of condoms. Coming to the female condoms, see in the diagram you can see the female condoms. Yes, female condoms. It is a pouch made up of polyurethane which lines the vagina and also the external genitalia. It is 17 cm in length with one flexible polyurethane ring at each end. Inner ring at the close end is smaller compared to the outer ring. Inner ring is inserted at the apex of the vagina and the outer ring remains outside. It gives protection against STDs and the PID, pelvic inflammatory diseases. It is expensive. Multiple uses can be made with washing, drying, and with the lubrication. Failure rate is about 5 to 21. Okay. Use of condoms as an elective contraceptive methods, as an interim form of contraception during pill use following vasectomy operation. So condoms are also used following vasectomy operation for few days or few weeks, and if an IUCD is thought lost until a new IUD can be fitted, in such cases we can advise to use condoms. During the treatment of trichomonal vaginitis of the wife, the husband should use it during the course of treatment, so to prevent her wife from the infection. So it is advised to use condoms during the treatment of his wife if she is suffering from trichomonas vaginalis. Immunological infertility, male partner to use for 3 months for other non-contraceptive benefits. So this is a diagram or is a table showing the advantages and disadvantages of the condoms. Advantages are cheaper with no contraindication, no side effects, easy to carry, simple to use and disposable. Protection against STDs like gonorrhea, chlamydia, HPV and HIV. Protection against pelvic inflammatory disease PIDs. Reduces the incidence of tubal infertility and ectopic pregnancy. Protection against cervical cell abnormalities, useful where the coital act is infrequent and irregular. Whereas disadvantages of condoms includes may accidentally break or slip off during coitus, inadequate sexual pleasure, allergic reactions if it is made up of latex, to discard after one coital act, and its failure rate is 15. It's less. Failure rate is also there. So coming to the next device, which is a diaphragm. See, you can see here in the diagram, this is a diagram of a diaphragm. It is an intravaginal device made up of latex with flexible metal or spring ring at the margin. Its diameter varies from 5 to 10 centimeter. It requires a medical or paramedical personnel to measure the length of the device. So it needs a medical person to measure the length and to fit the device. The distance between the tip of the middle finger placed in the posterior fornix and the point over the finger below the symphysis pubis gives the approximate diameter of the diaphragm. Diaphragm should completely cover the cervix. So whenever the medical person is inserting a diaphragm, it should completely cover the cervix, as it cannot effectively prevent the ascent of the sperms alongside the margin of the device. Additional chemical spermicidal agent should be placed on the superior surface of the device during insertion so that it remains in contact with the cervix. The device is introduced up to the 3 hours before intercourse. So here the diaphragm should be introduced up to the 3 hours before intercourse, and it is to be kept for at least 6 hours after the last coital act. So ill-fitting and accidental displacement during the intercourse increases the failure rate. But here it needs a medical person to fit 3 hours before intercourse, and it is to be kept at least 6 hours after the intercourse. And the most disadvantage is ill-fitting and accidental displacement this will lead to the failure. So you can see additionally we can use the chemicals also. So coming to the advantages and disadvantages of diaphragm. Advantages are cheap, can be used repeatedly for a long time, reduces PID STDs to some extent, protects against cervical pre-cancer and the cancer. Whereas disadvantages includes requires help of a doctor or a paramedical person to measure the size required. The risk of vaginal irritation, abrasion and urinary tract infection are there. Not suitable for women with uterine prolapse, and failure rate is 16. So next is the vaginal contraceptives or the chemicals. You can say here the chemicals which kills the sperms can be used here, called as vaginal contraceptives. It again comes in the barrier methods itself. This includes spermicides. Spermicides are available as vaginal foams, gels, creams, tablets and suppositories. So spermicides are available in different forms like foam form, gel form, cream form, tablet form and the suppositories form. Usually they contain the surfactants like non-oxynol 9, octooxynol or benzalkonium chloride. So these agents mostly cause sperm immobilization. The cream or jelly is introduced high in the vagina with the help of the applicator soon before the coitus. And the foam tablets 1 to 2 are to be introduced high in the vagina at least 5 minutes prior to the intercourse. In isolation, it is not effective. If you are advising only spermicides to the patients, then its failure rate is very high, like 18 to 29. But it enhances the efficacy of other methods like condoms and diaphragm when used along with it. So there may be occasional local allergic manifestations either in the vagina or vulva. So one more is a vaginal contraceptive sponge. It is also called as Today. It's very common. It is made up of polyurethane impregnated with 1 gram of non-oxynol 9 as an spermicide. Non-oxynol 9 acts as a surfactant which either immobilizes or kills sperms. It releases spermicide during coitus, absorbs ejaculate, and blocks the entrance to the cervical canal. The sperm should not be removed for 6 hours after intercourse. Its failure rate is about 32 to 20 in parous women and 16 to 19 in early parous women. Currently, it is observed that non-oxynol 9 is not effective in preventing cervical gonorrhea, chlamydia, or HIV. Moreover, it produces lesions in the genital tract when used frequently. So those lesions are associated with increased risk of HIV transmission. So the drawback is it is not giving any protection against the STDs or STI, sexually transmitted diseases, but it increases the risk of HIV transmission, especially this content non-oxynol 9, which is considered as a spermicidal. That's why it has a disadvantage. So next is the fertility awareness methods. Fertility awareness methods. So here the name itself indicates fertility awareness. You have to calculate the days of fertility and you have to take prevention. Fertility awareness methods require partners' cooperation. The woman should know the fertile time of her menstrual cycle. So here the methods includes the rhythm method, coitus interruptus, etc. Rhythm method. This is the only method approved by the Roman Catholic Church. The method is based on the identification of the fertile period of a cycle and to abstain from the sexual intercourse during that period, because pregnancy occurs in the fertile period. So you have to count the fertile period, and at that period they should avoid having intercourse. So this is called as a rhythm method. So this requires partners' cooperation. The method to determine the approximate time of ovulation and the fertile period. So how to know the exact the date of ovulation or the fertile period is, there are different methods like calendar rhythm, recording of the previous menstrual cycles. Calendar method is you have to count the cycles of a woman, previous cycles, then with that we can know the average fertile dates. Then noting the BBT, that is the basal body temperature, or the rhythm method, because temperature increases soon after the ovulation. With that we'll come to know that the ovulation occurred and the period is fertile. And noting the excessive mucoid vaginal discharge, which is also called as a mucus rhythm. So this also gives an idea that the estrogen dominancy is there and ovulation occurred. The users of the calendar method obtain the period of abstinence from calculation based on the previous 12 menstrual cycle records. So how to count with the help of calendar method is, you have to count the 12 last menstrual cycle records of a woman. How to count is, there is a method. The first unsafe day is obtained by subtracting 20 days from the length of the shortest cycle, and last unsafe day by deducting the 10 days from the longest cycle. So how to count is, first unsafe day is by subtracting the 20 days from the length of the shortest cycle. If shortest cycle she has gone, no, that cycle's length have to subtract minus 20 days, then we'll get an first unsafe day. And the last unsafe day is by deducting the 10 days from the longest cycle. Suppose her longest cycle is 35 days, so I have to do subtract, then you'll get a date, which date is like her minus you have to do from 35, like 25. So 25th day is her last unsafe day, like this you have to count. Users of temperature rhythm requires abstinence until the third day of the rise of temperature. If temperature is rise, so until the third day of the rise of temperature they have to avoid the coitus. Users of mucus rhythm requires abstinence on all days of noticeable mucus and for 3 days thereafter. So whenever the mucus is noticed, so they have to go for abstinence on the day and for 3 days thereafter. Another method is the coitus interruptus or withdrawal method. It is the oldest and probably the most widely acceptable contraceptive method used by the man. It necessitates the withdrawal of penis shortly before ejaculation. It requires sufficient self-control by the man so that withdrawal of the penis precedes the ejaculation method. So this is called as the coitus interruptus or withdrawal method. Another method is the breastfeeding lactational amenorrhea, LAM. Prolonged and sustained breastfeeding offers a natural protection of pregnancy. This is more effective in women who are amenorrheic than those who are menstruating. The risk of pregnancy to a woman who is fully breastfeeding and amenorrheic is less than 2% in the first 6 months. Otherwise, the failure rate is high. So, if the woman is amenorrheic and she is breastfeeding, fully breastfeeding, then and she is in her lactational amenorrhea, then her chances of becoming pregnant is very less. So, failure rate is only 1 to 10%. Thus, during breastfeeding, additional contraceptive support should be given, like condoms, IUCDs, injectable steroids were available to provide the complete contraception. When the woman is full breastfeeding, a contraceptive method should be used in the third postpartum month, and with partial or no breastfeeding, she should use it in the third postpartum week itself. Suppose if the woman soon after delivery, she is called as a postpartum lady or puerperal lady. So in the postpartum period, if she is fully breastfeeding, then no need to give, and she's amenorrheic and fully breastfeeding, then no need to prescribe any contraceptive methods up to the third month. But if she is not feeding the child properly, no breastfeeding or partial breastfeeding, then it's better to start contraception or from the third postpartum week itself. So fertility awareness based methods are natural contraception, that is with the help of rhythm method, coitus interruptus method, or lactational amenorrhea method. And barrier methods includes condom, diaphragm, and spermicides. So coming to its advantages and disadvantages of fertility awareness methods. Advantages are no cost and lack of side effects, and disadvantages are difficult to calculate the safe period reliably, need several months training to use these methods, compulsory abstinence from the sexual act during certain periods, not applicable during the lactational amenorrhea and when the periods are irregular. So these are the disadvantages of fertility awareness methods or the rhythm method. And the disadvantages or the advantages of coitus interruptus is no appliances is required. We don't need any appliances, any barrier method, etc. No cost. Disadvantages, it needs a sufficient self control. Women may develop anxiety, neurosis, vaginismus or pelvic congestion. Chances of pregnancy is more because sometimes the precoital secretions may contain the sperms, and accident chance of sperm deposition into the vagina. So these are the disadvantages. So this completes the fertility awareness methods. Next is the IUCDs, intrauterine contraceptive devices. IUCDs, intrauterine contraceptive devices. So the intrauterine devices have been used throughout the world during the last couple of decades. However, they have a significant improvement in its design and content. The idea is to obtain maximum efficacy without increasing the adverse effect. The device is classified as open or closed, medicated and non-medicated, and hormonal and non-hormonal. So these are the different classification of intrauterine contraceptive devices: open and closed, medicated and non-medicated, and the hormone containing and non-hormone containing. So coming to the device, if the device is classified as open when it has got no circumscribed aperture of more than 5 mm, so that a loop of intestine and omentum cannot enter and become strangulated. If accidentally the device perforates through the uterus into the peritoneal cavity, so no chances of perforation is less, or strangulation chances are less in cases of open devices like Lips loop, copper T7, multi-load, Progestar start, etc. are the examples of open devices. If closed devices like Grafenberg ring or Birberg bow accidentally enter the have the potential of causing strangulation of the gut, hence are not in use nowadays, obsolete, they are not in use nowadays. Closed devices are totally banned. The device may be non-medicated as Lips loops, or medicated sometimes like bioactive by incorporating a metal copper in devices like copper T200, copper T380A, multi-load 250, multi-load 375. So these are considered as medicated. Copper T and all are considered as medicated devices, whereas Lips loop is an example of non-medicated. One more is there, that is a hormone containing devices. Hormone containing IUCDs includes either progesterone releasing hormone, progesterone releasing IUCD, that is Progestar, and levonorgestrone releasing, that is LNG IUS system. Nowadays, the following medicated intrauterine contraceptive devices are in use: Copper T200, Multilode 250, Multilode 375, Copper T380A, LNG IUS, and Gynefix. See, in this diagram, you can see the different devices. This is a Copper T200. You can see the copper is incorporated only on the one single lip. And here this is the example of multi-load 375, and this is copper T380A. See here, the copper is incorporated even on the T arm. And this is a LNG IUS system, levonorgestrone containing IUD, LNG IUS. So coming to the description of the devices, copper T200, the widely used medical device is copper T200B. It carries 215 square meter surface area of the fine copper wire wounded around the vertical stem of the device. Stem of the T-shaped device is made up of polyethylene frame. It is a polyethylene monofilament tied at the end of the vertical stem. These two threads are used for detection and removal. So you can see the two threads are attached here. So these two threads are, why it is used means they are used for the detection as well as for the removal of the devices. Monofilament stem threads are tied there in the last. In spite of the copper being radio opaque, additional barium sulfate is incorporated in the device. The device contains 124 mg of copper. The copper is lost at the rate of about 50 mg per 24 hours during a period of 1 hour. It is supplied inside a sterile sealed pack. So it is supplied in a sterile sealed pack. The device is to be removed after 4 years. So the duration period of copper T200 is up to the 4 years. Copper T200 carries 200 square mm surface area wire containing 120 mg of copper, and it is removed after 3 years. Apart from the use of copper T as a contraceptive, it is used following the gynecolysis, means after removing the adhesions it is used. Copper T, another device is copper T380A. So this is the device copper T380A. See, you can see here, this is a copper T380A. Copper T380A carries total 380 mm square surface area of copper wire wound around the stem, that is 314 mm square, and each copper sleeve on the horizontal arms contain 33 mm square of copper. The frame contains barium sulfate and it is radio opaque, and its replacement is about every 10 years. So it can be kept inside up to 10 years. Another one is a multi-load 250. The device emits 60 to 100 mg of copper per day during a period of 1 year. The device is to be replaced every 3 years. Multi-load 375. Here I'll show you the diagram. So this is the diagram of a multi-load 375. You can see here the multi-load 375. Yes, multi-load 375 device is available in a sterile sealed packet with an applicator. There is no introducer and no plunger. It has 375 mm square surface area of copper wire wound around its vertical stem. Replacement is every 5 years. So it can be kept inside up to 5 years. LNG IUS. This is a LNG IUS, that is a levonorgestrone containing intrauterine device. LNG IUS. It is a T-shaped dimethyl siloxane membrane around the stem which acts as a steroid reservoir. Total amount of levonorgestrone is 52 mg and it is released at the rate of 20 mg per day. The device is to be replaced every 7 years. Its efficacy is comparable to sterilization. It has many non-contraceptive benefits also, as it is an hormonal device. So it has many other benefits also. Non-contraceptive benefits are also there. Another one is progesterone. Progesterone, it contains progesterone 38 mg containing ICD. It is no longer manufactured nowadays. So nowadays LNG IUS is only manufactured. Lips loop, it is a non-medicated open intrauterine device. It is no longer used in India. Lips loop is no longer used in India because other devices are much better compared to lips loop. Coming to the mode of action of IUCDs. how the intercontraceptive devices work. Mechanism of anti-fertility effect of all the IUCDs is not yet clear. They act probably in the uterine cavity and they do not inhibit the ovulation. So the good thing is they are not inhibit the ovulation, but they are acting mainly in the uterine cavity. So probable factors are biochemical and histological changes in the endometrium. So they produces a non-specific inflammatory reaction along with the biochemical changes in the endometrium, which has got gametotoxic and spermicidal property. So they produce a certain inflammatory reactions inside the endometrium which kills the gamete or which kills the sperms. Lysosomal disintegration can also occur from the macrophages attaches to the devices, liberates the prostaglandins which are toxic to the spermatozoa. So macrophages causes phagocytosis of spermatozoa, means macrophages they releases and they engulfs the spermatozoa. There may be increased tubal motility which prevents fertilization of the ovum. Endometrial inflammatory response decreases the sperm transport and impedes the ability of the sperms to fertilize the ovum. Copper devices. Ionized copper has got an additional local anti-fertility effect by preventing the blastocyst implantation through the enzymatic interference. See, copper devices, if you are using any copper devices, then copper devices has an additional local anti-inflammatory effect. Why? Because they prevent the blastocyst implantation. They are preventing the implantation of a blastocyst. Copper initiates the release of cytokines which are cytotoxic. Serum copper level is not increased. It seems that the progressive calcium deposition in the device prevents copper diffusion if kept for the longer period. So it should not be kept for the longer periods also. Levonorgestrone IUS Mirena. It induces strong and uniform suppression of endometrium. Cervical mucus becomes very scanty. Anovulation and insufficient luteal phase activity has also been mentioned. Serum progesterone level is not increased. Coming to the contraindication for the insertion of IUCD. Can we insert IUCD in all the patients? Whether all patients are suitable for IUCD? No. Here are some contraindications. So you have to examine the patient thoroughly before planning for an IUCD insertion. So you have to ask the patient in detailed history. So see here, the contraindications are presence of a pelvic infection current or within 3 months. If she had undergone any pelvic infection now or within 3 months, then she is not a perfect patient for the IUCD insertion. Undiagnosed genital tract bleeding or suspected pregnancy, distortion of the shape of the uterine cavity as in fibroids and congenital uterine malformation, because in such cases when the cavity is distorted, then there are more chances of displacement of the properties or the devices. Severe dysmenorrhea, past history of ectopic pregnancy within 6 weeks following cesarean section. See, within 6 weeks following cesarean section also it should not be inserted. STIs currently or within 3 months if she is suffering from sexually transmitted infections currently or within 3 months. Trophoblastic diseases, if she is suffering from trophoblastic diseases. Significant immunosuppression, then in such cases it is contraindicated. Additionally, for copper TR, Wilson's disease, copper allergy, additional only for copper devices if they are suffering from Wilson disease or copper allergies. For LNG IUSR, hepatic tumor, hepatocellular diseases, current breast cancer and severe arterial disease, because they release the hormones and the disadvantages are similar to that of the hormonal disadvantages. Coming to the time of insertion, when is to be inserted. Interval. When the insertion is made in the interconceptional period beyond 6 weeks following the childbirth, so it is preferable to insert 2 to 3 days after the period is over. So if she has undergone childbirth or abortion, so it is better to delay for 6 weeks, minimum 6 weeks you should wait, then we can insert the copper T. And when to insert, which is the ideal time of that month is, it is to be inserted 2 to 3 days after the period is over, when the period is completed. So after 2 to 3 days of the completion of the cycle it can be inserted, but it can be inserted any time during the cycle, even during menstrual phase, which has certain disadvantages like open cervix, uterine cavity distended, etc. And during lactational amenorrhea it can be inserted at any time because she is amenorrheic, so it can be inserted at any time. Post-abortal, immediately following termination of pregnancy by suction evacuation DNC or following spontaneous abortion, the device may be inserted. The additional advantage of preventing uterine synechia can help in the motivation for insertion. But if if a woman has undergone the therapeutic abortion, that is therapeutic cleaning, the dilatation, curettage, or spontaneous abortion, then it can be advised after the procedure. Postpartum insertion of the device can be done before the patient are discharged from the hospital. Because of high rate of expulsion, it is preferable to withhold the insertion for 6 weeks when the uterus will be involuted to the near normal size. So before discharge you can insert and send patient to home after delivery, but it's better to ask patient to come once after 6 weeks, because at that time after 6 weeks the uterus become involuted and it comes to the normal size, so there are less chances of expulsion of the devices. Post placental delivery, insertion immediately following delivery of the placenta could be done, but the expulsion rate is high. Next point is the methods of insertion. Copper T 200 and Copper T 388. There are different methods of insertion. First, the preliminaries: history, taking an examination, general and pelvic, to exclude any contraindications of insertion. Patient is informed about the various problems the device is shown to her and consent is to be obtained. Insertion is done in an outpatient department. No need to admit the patient and all. It can be done on the OPD basis, taking aseptic precautions. Without sedation or anesthesia, to reduce cramping pain, ibuprofen and NSAIDs may be given 200 to 400 mg 30 minutes before insertion. Then placement of the device inside the inserter. This is the method how the device is placed inside the inserter. First, the device is to be placed inside the inserter. The device is taken out from the sealed packet. The thread, the vertical stem and then the horizontal stem folded to the vertical stem are introduced into the distal end of the inserter. You can see here it is folded, and then the limbs stems are also folded, the T-shaped stems, into the inserted. Then folded the thread, the vertical stem and then the horizontal stem folded to the vertical stem are introduced through the distal end of the inserter. The device is now ready for introduction. No touch insertion method is preferred here. No touch insertion method is preferred. Actual steps: the patient empties her bladder and is placed in lithotomy position. Uterine size and position are ascertained by pelvic examination. Posterior vaginal speculum is introduced and the vaginal and cervix are cleaned by the antiseptic lotion. The anterior lip of the cervix is grasped by the Alice forceps. A sound is passed, uterine sound is passed through the cervical canal to know the position of the uterus and the length of the uterine cavity. The appropriate length of the inserter is adjusted depending on the length of the uterine cavity. The inserter with the device placed inside is then introduced through the cervical canal right up to the fundus, and after positioning it by the guard, the inserter is withdrawn, keeping the plunger in position. Thus, the device is not pushed out of the tube but held in place by the plunger while the inserter is withdrawn. This is called as withdrawal technique. Here it is shown here, withdrawal technique of insertion of copper T. Then after insertion, what you have to do is the excess of the nylon thread beyond 2 to 3 cm from the external os is cut. Then the Alice forceps and the posterior vaginal speculum are taken off. No touch insertion technique include loading of the IUD in the inserter without opening the sterile packet. So without opening, we should not open the package, but without opening the package only you have to insert or load the IUD in the inserter. The loaded inserter is now taken out of the package without touching the distal end. Not to touch the vaginal wall and the speculum while introducing the loaded IUD inserter through the cervical canal. So this is a method of copper T insertion. Another method is multi-load. Multi-load CU250, multi-load 375. The applicator with the device is just to be taken out from the sealed packet in a no-touch method, and the same is pushed through the cervical canal up to the fundus of the uterus. The applicator is then withdrawal. Here no need to load the device. Device is already loaded. Just with the help of this packet you have to open it, and with no-touch method you should not touch it, and it is simply pushed inside the cervical canal up to the fundus. It is a simple method. LNG IUS, the arms of the device is released in the uterine cavity about 2 cm below the fundus, etc. Then instruction to the patient: Slight vaginal bleeding should be explained. The patient should be advised to feel the thread periodically by the finger. The patient is checked after 1 month and then annually. So I'll show you a clip here. This is how you have to keep all the instruments ready before the procedure. Then you have to make patient to lie down in a lithotomy position. Then proper examination is to be done by manual speculum. Here speculum is to be inserted. Into the cervix. See here the cusco-speculum is introduced and the cervical canal is cleaned. You can see the cervix here. The anterior lip of the cervix is held with the help of a valsellum or the tenaculum. Then uterine sound is introduced to know the length and position of the uterine cavity. So that is a measurement of the uterine length of this patient. Then now this is a procedure of loading the copper T. This is a copper T sealed in a packet. That is an inserter, plunger.